truth and nothing but the truth? Answer by saying, I do.
I do.
Thank you.
Good evening. Jennifer, St. Cloud, Florida. To the Board of County Commissioners, Osceola County. Adoption of ordinance number 2021 for ZMA 20-0056. As a former resident who grew up in this Narcoossee community, I stand before you to oppose the rezoning of this parcel from single-family residential to low-density residential. This property, located south of Jones Road, north of Whitted Drive, and west of Friar Road, is noted wetland that was previously used as a landfill for commercial and household waste. Additionally, this property sits in the middle of a closely knit community that has been here for over 100 years. Putting a townhome community directly in the middle of our little community is an insult to the families who have lived here in this community for generations. When asked about the landfill, the project planner, Mandy Warwick, indicated that there was no record of this wetland property ever being used as a landfill. County staff and Mr. Lamb confirmed on the virtual meeting held May 12th that there was no indication that this property had been used as a landfill. To clarify the issue of a landfill on the property, I would like to submit a copy of the lease agreement between the Osceola County Board of County Commissioners and Mr. James Whitted, property owner, effective the first day of October 1964 and in effect through October 1969. This lease information is readily available through the Osceola records of the Osceola County Clerk of Courts. How is it possible that the owner did not know about the landfill? Was no research done on the property intended for residential use? How can county officials say that there is no landfill on this property when the lease is recorded in their official records? The rezoning of this property was rushed through and does not seem to have followed the usual procedures of placing signs in the community to notify the residents of a rezoning hearing and allowing the public comment and review before the property is purchased and planning completed. The potential owners doing due diligence to determine most appropriate use of the property. We, the residents of this community that borders the property, do not believe a townhouse community on this property is most appropriate use of the property. The property is a wetland which requires at a minimum an environmental impact study. Has this been completed? And finally, the property is an abandoned landfill with unknown pollutants that have negatively impacted the residents of this community for the last 50 years. It is understood that the owners of Real Estate Resilience F&A LLC had no obligation to commission on a Phase 1 environmental assessment prior to purchase, but in this case, they should have. Had they known of the condition of the property and that it is designated wetland, would they have purchased property? No good businessman or woman would knowingly purchase a property that is problematic from the beginning. Their purchase and the rush to rezone without community input led the younger residents research the property and to discuss it with elder family and community members. This led to the discussion about the landfill and a search for documentation to verify that a landfill had been on the property. The Osceola County Department of Environmental Protection has no record of the landfill, nor does the Health Department, which would have been responsible for monitoring the landfill in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Because the landfill was not monitored and has not been monitored, any number of pollutants may be present in the soil and groundwater of this property. Cleanup of this property falls to the current owner. We ask that Mr. Bittencourt considers beginning environmental testing and plan to allocate funds necessary to remediate the environmental hazards. To address the question of why we want to live near a landfill, the property been in the families of this community for over 100 years. The lease was signed with an elderly man who owned the parcel. At the time of the lease, he was approximately 70 years old. A 70-year-old black man in 1964 was not going to argue with a member of the county commission about a lease or about the $1 per year lease amount. Many of our elders worked as day workers, housekeepers for wealthy families in Osceola County. Others worked on farms, orchards, or businesses of the wealthy people in the county. Speaking up against something done by the county was not an option. No times are different, and we are not dependent upon these families for our livelihoods, and we are free to speak about the issues that affect our families. Our elders have discussed among issues among themselves and have shared their concerns with us. It is our responsibility to now bring hidden problems to the attention of those who we can correct them. Thank you. Do you want me to submit this?
Thank you. Yep, if you'll hand it over to the clerk of the court for us. Thank you so much.